What's up, y'all? I am Marcus, also known as ENB, and From Software has finally unveiled their new title. It is Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. They've put up a new trailer for E3 2018. If you haven't checked it out, I recommend going somewhere on the internet. Just Google, it's everywhere. Watch that first and then come back here. This is going to be a reaction video, just me explaining my thoughts on the trailer that we've seen. I will show the trailer in the background just so you guys have something better to look at than my fucking face. But yeah, overall, this video is going to be divided into three parts. I am going to tell you what I'm excited about for the game. Some things that I feel like might disappoint people. And before I even talk about this, I want to say this is a caveat. This is a reaction to a reveal trailer. We don't know anything about the game. It's not like I'm reviewing a full game or whatever. Like, it's just like my impressions from the trailer of some things that, maybe the game's going to be like this, and this might actually disappoint some people. Like, it's a guess. It's speculation. It's a reaction to a trailer. So let's not make it into a bigger thing than it is. But I want to talk about what I'm going to be excited for, what I think might disappoint other people. It actually doesn't bother me that much. But and then finally, I want to address the elephant in the room, which is the involvement of Activision and Microsoft. Actually, I'll go ahead and address the Microsoft thing right now. Because the trailer was revealed at Microsoft's conference, a lot of people are worried about it. Do not worry. In the trailer itself, it actually confirms that it is going to be on the Xbox One, X1, whatever. It's going to be on PlayStation 4. It's going to be on Steam. So whether you are a Sony console owner who's been following FromSoft with their on the PlayStation 3, on PlayStation 4, they've developed games exclusively for Sony, or whether you're someone like me who just prefers to play the games on PC, or whether you're a PC owner who doesn't own a console, do not worry. The game is going to be on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Steam. It's already confirmed. You don't have to worry about that. Now, we don't know if it'll be a timed exclusive for Microsoft. That I haven't seen anything about that yet. I personally doubt it. I think that what's really going on here is that Microsoft paid to have this game announced at their conference to make Xbox seem more relevant and exciting. That's what I think. So I just want to get that part out of the way. We'll talk about the Activision bit at the end. All right, so let's start up the trailer behind me and get into the analysis. Or rather, instead of analysis, I should say reaction, because that's all this is. It's just my reaction to this. First of all, my first reaction to this trailer is, thank God it's a new world. It's a new world. It's a new IP. Some people are going to say maybe this is actually a spiritual successor to some older FromSoft titles, and that it's a possibility. But the point is, they have the creative freedom to do whatever the heck they want with this one. There's no expectation. This isn't Bloodborne 2. This isn't Dark Souls 4. And I do understand that a lot of people out there were wanting Bloodborne 2 specifically. A lot of people were really hyped up about that. And I would say that this is me. I personally think that Bloodborne 2 is still a possibility. If I was Sony, I would pay for Bloodborne 2 to be a PlayStation 5 launch title. That would be me if I was Sony. I think there's plenty of demand for it. I think Sony knows that it's valuable, and I think that FromSoft would probably do it. Like, we've seen that they've had a pretty good they've had a pretty good working relationship with Sony recently with Bloodborne, Demon's Souls, maybe not so much. So I still think that that's a possibility out there. But for me personally, I feel like Dark Souls 1 was great. I feel like Dark Souls 2's story isn't as bad as a lot of people think. I actually like it within itself as a standalone game. But the connections to Dark Souls 1 is where I feel like, okay, it's just tacked on, and they're just forcing two things together that don't necessarily belong together. And then Dark Souls 3, I didn't really get into the story as much because it tries to be the glue that holds those games together. A lot of people feel differently about it, and that's totally fine. It's just my personal opinion. But I just feel like FromSoft is really at their best when they're creating something new. And a lot of people who are excited for something like Bloodborne 2, I feel like, Bloodborne, a lot of the big surprise and shock and amazement from Bloodborne was finding out that it's not gothic horror, that it's cosmic horror. Bam! Aliens and space gods and shit. Like, we already know that. So Bloodborne 2 wouldn't be able to shock you as much. Now, I'm sure Miyazaki's got his ways. He's got his ways. But, that's for me. So the first thing, just seeing that, okay, this isn't a sequel. This is a new thing. Yes, I'm happy about that. The next thing, obviously a bit more Eastern inspired, like a little bit more, maybe a little bit more Japanese setting. It's moving away from, you've got the Souls, Demon Souls, Dark Souls, very kind of Western, medieval. Then you've got Bloodborne, which is gothic into cosmic horror, but they're both very Western. This is different. From that. And I, for one, appreciate it, especially because they have a little bit of this, like, I won't say steampunk, I'll say like clockwork punk. Like, they've got this kind of improbable technology with the prosthetic arm going on, but it's within this kind of Japanese setting. I think it's going to be really cool. Also, I got to say, like, graphically, now the opening the door animation is still the goddamn same, but graphically, just looking at it, it looks superior to everything that they've done so far. And that we'll talk about that a little bit more when it comes to discussion about Activision, but I like the setting. The most exciting thing that they've shown that I've seen in this trailer, the jumps, the verticality, the grappling, both in combat and in exploration. Now, so for combat of Souls games, a lot of you guys, maybe if you haven't caught any of my Twitch streams or anything like that, I've played Neo when it first released. I played the newest God of War. I played it on Gimme God of War difficulty. And I kind of have come to the realization that Dark Souls is stagnant. FromSoft's, and I'm not just talking about, when I say Dark Souls, when I'm talking about Souls, I'm including Bloodborne in this. I feel like the combat in that series has really stagnated. It's not substantially different from what it was in Demon Souls. A lot of people are going to say, oh no, the transform attacks in Bloodborne, it's so fast and aggressive. I really feel like it's pretty superficial. I don't feel like Bloodborne is that much faster than, say, Demon Souls or Dark Souls 3. And the transform attacks don't really matter that much to me, because a couple of the main points where I feel like Souls has not evolved is on enemy behaviors. Like you have, like with Neo, you've got the key system and human key and monster key and how that works differently, and then yokai zones that kind of change the ebb and flow of battle. And within the grand scheme of action games, you've got character action games like Bayonetta and Devil May Cry and stuff like that, where you're doing these flashy combos and you can dodge out at any time, and it's just about locking enemies down with these combos. And then you've got more, I call them tactical action games. You can call them whatever you want, but they have a lot more emphasis on you attack, but you also protect. You have to defend yourself, and you have kind of limited resources in order to do that. In the Souls games, it's been stamina. And so you've got this kind of ebb and flow. And then with a game like Neo, you suddenly have the existence of, okay, the way enemy staggers work, the way enemy hyper armor works, the way their stamina works is different. The yokai zones change the dynamic of combat. God of War did not feature a stamina system, but I feel like it's actually the next evolution in combat. Overall, the gameplay, it wasn't really that fun until you're on Gimme God of War difficulty, and Gimme God of War difficulty is really fucking cheap. So it's really frustrating too. But at the same time, the basic combat mechanics, using the axe, like intentionally missing axe throws around a shielded guy so that you can recall it, so that you can trip him and then get an aerial combo or get an environmental kill pinning him against the wall. The way environmental kills play in, like, I really feel like God of War just blows Souls out of the water. And when I say Souls, I'm including Bloodborne, out of the water in terms of the basic combat systems and what you can do. Now, Souls excels over God of War in a lot of other ways. Like, this isn't the A or B sort of thing here, but in terms of combat, we've really just had these kind of incremental changes, and I won't even say incremental improvements in the Souls series, because, you go from Demon Souls to Dark Souls, you get things like poise, you have this heavier play style, it's a little bit more RPG based, and I feel like it was moving in kind of a positive direction. You go to Dark Souls 2, you get some changes like adaptability and agility, where it's an RPG stat that affects your iframes, and it's maybe not such a, it doesn't really feel so good. It's kind of a step back. And then you have things like power stancing, which opens up new play styles of using two weapons that was a kind of a step forward. The fundamental gameplay doesn't change that much. And then in the next game, you got Bloodborne and you got Dark Souls 3, and you do away with power stancing and you do away with agility. And so those changes don't even matter anymore. And, you know, it just, they've made these incremental changes, but I feel like the basics of combat and the basics of the way the enemies behave, it's all about, if you're standing in the right place, you won't get hit. And if you're standing in the wrong place, then you can dodge it with timing or block it with timing. And I feel like kind of the way combat is paced has not really advanced in Souls games, so I've been disappointed. Now, I know you're like, that's nothing to do with this trailer. No, this is everything to do with this trailer, because they show one specific part in here where they use the grappling hook in combat. This grappling hook, it opens up so many combat design possibilities, so many options. It can give you got a grappling hook, it pulls you to something, or it can pull something to you. Oh man, this grappling hook has got me so excited. It just, the potential in combat uses of it, I feel like this is good. This is good. This is different. It's similar to what maybe they were going for with the transform attacks from Bloodborne, but it's actually different, because the transform attacks, the transformations just really felt like two-handing. It's how it ended up feeling. Like, the weapons didn't behave that differently. The enemies didn't really require you to hit different areas in the same way that a game like Neo did, even though they had weaknesses, and they wanted to have this more offensive playstyle in Bloodborne. I feel like they just really didn't pull it off very well. But yeah, and man, the game looks so pretty, man. Like, it looks, oh god. But no, I'm super, this right here. Watch him. Okay, you dodge the attack, and then you use the hook, and then you get in and you hit him and you stagger him and you knock him off. And also mounted enemies, hello? Yes, I am very excited about how Sekiro may actually step forward. This may be an evolution. I think part of it is the fact that they have the freedom to do something new. I'm very excited about how the combat might evolve from here, whereas I haven't been super disappointed. I wasn't really that disappointed in Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3's combat until I played Neo, and then especially until I played a God of War recently, where I'm just kind of like, man, these other developers are like, they're pushing the limits harder than FromSoft is these days. And that was kind of, I'm super happy to see this. The other thing, the grappling hook in exploration, because now it opens things up. You think about the last major innovation in exploration in the Souls series was in Dark Souls 1, the addition of the jump, so that they could have little gaps that you could traverse. And that's really it. Like, they've tried to play with shadow and light and with the torches in Dark Souls 2 and 3, and it doesn't fucking matter. Like, it hasn't worked out. It hasn't been an interesting or enjoyable thing. They tried to have the Chalice dungeons as kind of like procedurally generated content, but I feel like it wasn't really finished. It wasn't really fleshed out enough to be interesting. Now you've got this different movement mechanic. You can add some verticality to the levels, and if you can actually perform leaps like that and it's not just cinematic, then yes, I think the exploration could be vastly improved. And to me, I feel like the Souls games in general have better exploration than a lot of games. I've been streaming The Witcher here. I streamed it yesterday, and one of the things people were talking about, oh man, this has got the best exploration in any game ever. And I was sitting here thinking, what? Exploration in The Witcher sucks. And then I thought about it, and I was like, I hate exploration in games. And somebody called me out on this when I was talking about it during God of War. I'm like, man, I hate exploration in games. I hate it. It's boring. They're like, you like exploration in Souls games? I was like, fuck, I do. And the more I thought about it, it's just because what we think of, I think people are thinking of different things when they think of exploration. Like, when people think of exploration in The Witcher, they think of what a beautiful, amazing world. Like, they think about the setting that they're going around as they're exploring. To me, that's not exploration. That's the world. Like, and I think that the world of The Witcher is incredible. Like, you walk into Novigrad the first time, that shit blows you away. Like, it's really good. but the actual act of exploring is usually like following a trail on the ground, glowing red trail using your Witcher sense. That's the actual action. That's the actual exploration that you do, right? Whereas what you're exploring is cool, but the way you explore it is not. And that's with God of War as well, because you would approach a puzzle with Kratos. He's a fucking god that like climbs mountains and jumps from shit and can like fly around like crazy in a cutscene. And then there's just this little gap, and he just can't. Little Kratos feet over it, and you have to look around in the environment for the one thing that the developer wants you to interact with to be able to finish this puzzle. Like, there's a million different ways that Kratos and all of his imminent godhood could get by this obstacle, but you just gotta look until you find what the developer wants you to see. That's not fun to me, that kind of arbitrary puzzle solution sort of stuff. Dark Souls isn't really like that, because Dark Souls is just kind of like, all right, buddy, figure it out yourself. Run around and die and go to the catacombs early and figure out, oh my God, there's a big golden fog gate in this dark ass tomb of the giants, and these enemies are so strong, and I'm dying over and over, and I'm frustrated, and what the fuck? And you go on the internet and you find out, oh, you were supposed to go right, not left. Like, I don't know. For me, like, exploring around in Souls is always really fun. Part of it's also how they reward it. Other games, you look at Salt and Sanctuary and you look at Hollow Knight, like a lot of people praise the exploration in Hollow Knight and praise the combat in Salt and Sanctuary, but for me, it's exactly the opposite. Hollow Knight had some really great boss fights, and Salt and Sanctuary had much better exploration. And the reason for that is exploration in Hollow Knight was really unrewarding, unfulfilling. Like, I would find some geo and then use it to unlock a map upgrade or something like that, instead of like some cool item or ability that's actually going to change the way that I play the game. Whereas Salt and Sanctuary, being more heavily RPG based rather than just kind of like action, they could pepper their world with items that actually change the way that you play the game, similar to what Souls can do. And it's very much because they borrowed that from Souls, of course. But then again, Hollow Knight's action was way better. So anyway, but I think that that's an important point. It kind of leads into my next bit about what people may be disappointed just from my reactions from this. These are my guesses. We don't know. I could be wrong. There could be an article on one of the news sites tomorrow that just says, no, none of this is right. So just take it with a grain of salt. But here's what I think. I think it's a set character. I think it's more story narrative based. It may be more linear. And this is gonna be an issue. Like, when people think about what they like about Dark Souls, I like the combat and the setting. Some people like the lore. What a lot of people liked was how things were interconnected. And that may be going on here. Don't know. But I think there's a pretty good possibility that this is a set character, that you're not going to be really role playing, like creating your own character and then playing those roles. I think you're going to be role playing this guy. That's what it looks like to me. Just by virtue of the fact that they aren't showing us any other way that your character can go, and just kind of the overall general presentation of things makes me feel like this is the character. Hopefully I'm wrong. I really think I could. Like, it could go either way. But so far, we're seeing this guy. And especially with the amount of detail in the arm and such, I just really have the impression that that's the character. Yeah. And so I also want to say that if this goes the way of Bloodborne, if this goes the same way that Bloodborne did, it may lean more towards action rather than role-playing game, which I personally prefer. Like, I don't like it when combat is really determined by stats. I like it when it's determined by player skill. So I personally like that, but I feel like a lot of people really like that aspect of Dark Souls 1. I think a lot of people feel that limitation in Bloodborne, where you can't just like tank up with heavy armor. There's no big like great shield or whatever. It's less diverse in terms of play styles, limited magic, things of that nature. I kind of get the feeling that this is going a little bit more the Bloodborne route than the Dark Souls route. Just my reaction from the trailer, just from what I'm seeing. And I'm interested if you guys see other things in here that make you think, no, that's probably not going to be the case. I'm certainly interested to hear about it. A lot of people are saying, oh my God, it's Nioh but good, or Nioh but FromSoft or whatever. I think it's really superficially similar to Nioh, but even then I would say Onimusha instead of Nioh, because come on, guys. No, it's, you know, it's samurai, man. It's not, I don't think, I don't really get a big Nioh vibe from this. I get a little bit more like a little Onimusha Bionic Commando with the arm. You got a little Clockwork Punk going on in there, which seems a little bit Bloodborne-esque to me. Like, I don't know. I don't see Nioh when I look at this at all, really. I'm really curious how combat's going to work out. I'm also curious about that rune that popped up there, right there, but that's a story for another day. Yeah. All right. Let me talk about the last thing. This is going on very long. I know. I apologize. Especially when I'm giving lots of like metaphors for other things, but like it's the best way. Like if I kind of like give you heuristic examples of like this game did this game did this is something that I've been disappointed in, and this is what's exciting about the trailer is because it looks like they're going to change that. So the elephant in the room for me is Activision and Microsoft's involvement in this, and I've even had people tweeting at me being like, I hate this, I'm not going to buy this game because Activision's ruined other companies and they're going to ruin FromSoft. First of all, FromSoft's still owned by Kadokawa. Like, it's not like Activision has bought FromSoft, to my knowledge, and I think we would know. I think we would hear about that. So maybe don't worry too much about that. But I really want to look at this from FromSoft's perspective. You think Demon's Souls was published by Sony, except they didn't want to publish it overseas, and so that's where Atlas gets involved, and it's kind of a mess. Then FromSoft goes with Bandai for Dark Souls, and it's a huge multi-platform success, but it's not on PC. There is the petition from Total Biscuit. Total Biscuit, you remember that guy because that Dark Souls one would not have been on PC without Total Biscuit. There's that petition. There's the PC release of Dark Souls, and I've speculated in the past, and I stand by this belief. I believe that at the time that they negotiated to do a PC port of Dark Souls 1, they negotiated for a couple of sequels as well. I think that's where Dark Souls 2 and 3 came from. I don't know that. This isn't insider knowledge. This isn't. This is a strong hunch of mine. It's just from me looking at the situation. That's what I believe. It's my speculation. So they did that with Bandai, but it's kind of had them trapped and stuck in the same. They have to use this world and they have to connect things together, and they can't really innovate a whole lot. So they went back and they did something else with Sony. They did Bloodborne. It's different. It's not gameplay-wise, I would argue that it's really not as different as people think it is. But in terms of presentation and story, it's different from the Souls games, and it's a different setting as well, for sure. So at that point, you know, you've worked with Sony, you got locked in with this with Bandai, you've done this thing, you're looking for other options, you go back with Sony again, you do something new. Let's look at what they get out of a partnership with Activision. First of all, they probably get a bigger budget because of all of the successes that they've had in the past. And Activision's got a lot of money. And if Activision's like, you know what, we'll do this, we'll publish this. I'm looking at the trailer and it looks like there are going to be some graphical improvements. It looks like it's going to be better, and particularly with regards to the animation with the grappling hook, this would be my one big concern is how well animated the character is going to be for grappling, especially if there's lots of leaps and verticality. We'll see how it actually goes, but I think that they get that out of it. I think that probably they get the freedom to make a new IP, because if they do something else for Sony, it's probably going to be the likes of a Bloodborne 2 Or if they did something with Bandai would probably want Dark Souls 4 because they have that IP and they want to add value there. So if they want to do something new, then I think they kind of need a new publisher. It helps them cultivate fans on multiple different platforms. This is not, if they don't want to work with Bandai, they don't want to do more Dark Souls stuff, maybe Sony, but if Sony wants Bloodborne 2, maybe not. But if Sony's like, well, we'll let you make something else too. But still, it would only be on PlayStation. So if they want it to be on PC as well, and they want it to be available to people who have Xboxes, this is something that Activision is definitely going to be wanting to do. I think another major thing that it does is it lets them show their old partners. It lets them show Sony, hey, we don't need you to make games, okay? We can make games with other people. People will give us money to make video games, all right? All right. So I think that increases their ability to negotiate with the likes of Sony or Bandai or whoever in the future to show we can work with Bandai, we can work with Sony, we can work with Activision, we can work with whoever the heck we want, and we can make whatever the heck we want. I think it kind of empowers FromSoft from that perspective. But the main thing is I feel like it really gets them the cash to make what they really want to make, and it gives them freedom from their old IPs. I would also say that I think there's a little bit of an East-West divide here, and I don't know. I honestly think that FromSoft has no idea how much a lot of people hate Activision. I really don't think that they truly understand that their company takes a pretty substantial goodwill hit from consumers in the West because they are having a game published by Activision. And not everybody's like that. You know, there are a lot of people, including myself, who are like, fucking Activision, really? So I don't know. As far as Activision ruining FromSoft, I don't think it's going to happen. Could Activision like really commercialize the fuck out of this game and like really gouge consumers on DLC and shit like that? Yeah, they could do that. They could ruin this game. They could. I don't know. I would like to hope that they wouldn't. But in general, I wouldn't read too much into this. What I read into this is FromSoft play in the field. It's like, all right, ladies, you know, we've had some good times in the past, me and you, Bandai-chan, me and you, old Sony-chan, but maybe there's some other people in the world for me who don't mind that if I grow and do new things. Like, so I just feel like FromSoft's playing the field, and I think that it puts them in a stronger position moving forward to get the money they need to really fully realize their visions. And it goes back to, like, Bloodborne bothers me because the Chalice Dungeons, I just really, honest to God, feel like FromSoft intended it to be a much bigger and more interesting experience than it was, and I just don't feel like it was ready. I just don't. I feel like the concept was good, and what they released was okay, but the Chalice Dungeons could have been great, and they weren't. And you know, with more time, more money from Sony, maybe it could have been. But you know what? Let a player play. Let FromSoft go. Let them try working with different people. I don't personally like Activision, and it's not who I would have chosen for them if I had my dream of who could publish their games. I would love to see them self-publish overseas, but they are definitely not in the position to be able to do that just because they just don't have the personnel to do it right now. They don't have the connections. They don't have the distribution network. It's not possible. So they're working with Activision. And for people who just absolutely are going to boycott and not buy the game because it's Activision, I understand it. And I'm not going to think twice about you. I'm going to buy the shit. And I'm going to hope it's not an Xbox timed exclusive. I personally doubt it will be. Yeah, man. So I know some people are going to be mad. You didn't like go frame by frame and talk about every little thing in the trailer. Motherfucker, you got eyes. You can see how good this looks. You don't need me to tell you that. But the things that excite me, the thing that excites me more than anything is the grappling hook. Oh my God, being able to use it in combat, being able to use it in exploration, the things that it opens up for them to do with the enemy design, the thing that it opens up for them to do with the level design, we could actually see something that finally surpasses Dark Souls in terms of level design from FromSoft, and then the way things that can connect together. And I hope it's not more linear. I hope I'm wrong about that. I hope that it's all connected together. And I don't know, man. Yojimbo just keeps popping in my head. Like, it would be so cool if it works out like a Way of the Samurai sort of thing, where it's just this big town and everything's connected and shit, man. And it could go that way. It could go that way. God, I'm getting more excited the more I talk about this right now. But yeah. So that's what I think. That's my reaction to the trailer. It's fucking 30 minutes long. The trailer is 2 minutes long. My reaction is 30. Oh my God, what the fuck have I become? But yeah. I'm Marcus, also known as ENB. What the fuck do you think about the trailer? What's your reaction, man? You know what I think about it. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. What is that?